Hey everybody, this is Joseph Yusuf at JohnTheHutDweller. And I wanted to talk about something that has been brought up a couple times, and it's the term Aryan. And what is white? Well, white in the United States of America, you have a few categories for race. You have black non-Hispanic, white non-Hispanic, and under white non-Hispanic it says uh, North African, European, or Middle Eastern descent. And then it has Asian, and it lists the countries from there. But what are the Indians to check out? Well, if we're going by anything like genetics or culture or ethnicity, they have to check white because they are Aryans. Now, let me say this again. I am 100% Aryan. Yes, my family is from Syria and parts of Bosnia and Argentina and parts of Ireland. The biggest chunk being Argentina. Now, or, well, we don't know, or Syria. But that is all Aryan. What Hitler was talking about was a bunch of crap. He viewed a Nordic people who we may even say that the Norse people, the people from Scandinavia, are not Aryans because the Aryans started as a group. You can almost call them Proto-Aryans from somewhere around in between the Black Sea and the Hindu Kush Mountains. The earliest writings we have are from the Aryans. Zoroaster was an Aryan, a Brahmin, which were the priests of the Aryans. And the Aryans, were they indigenous to India, or did they come across the Hindu Kush Mountains? Well, there are two theories. One says yes, one says no. Uh, that is why if you take a white person, if you took me and you put my skin completely black, I would look like a Hindu. I wouldn't look like a black sub-Saharan African. Now, in America today, there has been talks of, oh, Indians aren't white and this and that. And this is a bunch of crap because the ethnic standard in America is so hypocritical. They list Hispanic as a race. That's why I always have trouble going whenever I have to get. Now I'm past that. I can just get a, put in a resume. I don't have to have applications. Before, put white. I'd mark white and Hispanic, or because when I used to mark Hispanic, well, you're not. Said you're. It clearly says white non-Hispanic. Now, uh, there is a bit of extreme racism around Chicago, which considers any non-Anglo-Saxon to be black. Not joking. Farrakhan's mosque is a testament to this. That all Arabs, I mean, it's just wildly insane. Um, and the term Anglo only applies. I'm sorry. If we're dealing in reality, the only term Anglo only applies to those people in England, descended from the Anglo-Saxons. The Celtic people of Ireland are not Anglo-Saxons. In fact, they're the enemy. King Arthur was the enemy of the Anglo-Saxons. People who do not understand race tend to be the most racist. There is one human race, but there are subgroups. Cleopatra was black. No, she wasn't. She was a Greek. She was a Ptolemy. Well, you're racist. Well, why? Well, because she was from Egypt. She had to be black. What about all the people in Egypt today? Oh, well, they were just invaders. They weren't really there. Well, what about the fact that we can see on the reliefs what these people actually look like? And we can see them holding captives of Nubians who were clearly sub-Saharan Africans of that type, the Bantu maybe you'd call them. Well, this does nothing. It amazes me that in this day people can misunderstand what Aryan is. The fact that there are Polish neo-Nazis, and some people don't consider the Slavs Aryan, but the recognized people who are from the Aryan group are Celtic, the Latin, Italic Latin, which, as you all know, Latins began in central Italy and then conquered the Iberian Peninsula, kicking out the Celts and the descendants of that race, language, culture, because they were all one at one point, are what we now call the Spanish and the Portuguese. Now, yes, there are minor groups like the Basque people, and there might have been a little remnant of Celt in there, but for the most part, it was displaced. Like the Manhattan Indians were displaced from Manhattan Island, and now indigenous New Yorkers are mostly Old World people, people with Old World genetics. I'm not saying anything controversial. If people take this as controversial, they're severely undereducated. This idea of Aryan, it has become strained because of World War II. In people's brain, when they say Aryan, they imagine what it is. They don't go back to look at what it is. Where do we get the term? Well, the term came from the Aryans of Iran. Iran means Aryan, and the Shah, before he was deposed, was the king of all Aryans. That was the title that he held. Now, we use this name to describe what is called the Proto-Persian, the one monolithic culture that existed between Ireland and southern India that spoke one language, had one culture, and common religious views. Any linguist can tell you that this is fact. People who want to take pride in nationalism, I don't think this defeats that idea, because nationalism isn't formed on a type of genetic race. Although since World War II there have been leftists that injected the idea, well, nationalism and fascism are just the same. No, they're not. I, however, am not a nationalist. But I'm not just going to sit around here and lie. People trying to take their own self-hatred or own neurotic opinions and then applying them and saying, well, no, the people who live on this side of the Bosporus are Aryans and people who live on this side of the Bosporus are non-Aryans, even though they are identical in language and race and culture and everything else. There is mass foolishness that goes on when talking in history. We find that they dug up Caucasian mummies, white mummies, in northern China. And where do we find their descendants? China and India. Could it be that culture started in the Tigris and Euphrates and was brought to everywhere else, as all historians have been saying forever? But that's racist. Again, people are to assume that's racist is to say that genetics are important, that there are races, individual, distinct, and that they're above everything else. This only shows the racism of the person who's saying, oh, it's racist. It is insane. I know a lot of people won't understand what I'm talking about because they don't care about history or the roots of mankind. But when confronted by black supremacists who will say, anybody who was living in Europe past the year 500 is now white, and anybody who's outside of Europe is somehow non-white or non-Aryan. This comes from not being educated at all and assuming things or just making things up. The reason why I say this is because there is a growing vocal voice of these racist segment that is growing more paranoid and more violent and has been attacking people of the Hispanic and white communities. Now, again, even as I say that, I don't agree with it because I don't think there are different communities. These are sectioned off labels as if my next door neighbor is part of the Hispanic community and my other next door neighbor is part of the white community. And I guess since I don't have an accent or my skin isn't as dark as people need it to be for them to recognize me, and those people who aren't Hispanic, oh, I'm white. But then other people say, oh, you're trying to hide it. You're trying to hide the fact that you have Arab and Latino blood. Well, how is it? I commonly talk about it. Well, what? You don't dress like them. You don't act like them. You don't embrace the stereotype. This angers me, and it just shows the stupidity of the people saying this garbage. Peace. We're all born from Adam and Eve. Whether that's a fact, it doesn't matter. It's the truth. Recognize the spiritual truth of things. You know what? People will be racist, so whatever. Hey everybody, this is Joseph Yusuf at JohnTheHutDwellers. And I wanted to talk about something that has been brought up a couple times, and it's the term Aryan. And what is white? Well, white in the United States of America, you have a few categories. The biggest chunk being Argentina. Now, well, we don't know, or Syria. But that is all Aryan. What Hitler was talking about was a bunch of crap. He viewed a Nordic people who white because they are Aryans. Now, let me say this again. I am 100% Aryan. Yes, my family is from Syria and parts of Bosnia and Argentina and parts of Ireland. And it lists the countries from there. But what are the Indians to check out? Well, if we're going by anything like genetics or culture or ethnicity, they have to check for race. You have black non-Hispanic, white non-Hispanic, and under white non-Hispanic it says North African, European, or Middle Eastern descent. And then it has Asian.